Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Huge shout out to Iceni for this one. You always send us the most interesting stuff. Really appreciate it. And speaking of interesting stuff, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share this with your friends. It really helps us out. All right. Today we're tackling a question that has been baffling scientists and sci-fi fans for a long time. Are those mysterious UAP sightings actually a form of extraterrestrial life? We're diving deep into some research by R.G. Joseph and his team, and let me tell you, this is going to be a wild ride. They suggest that some UAPs are actually living plasma organisms, things called plasmoids, and get this, they have tons of NASA space shuttle footage to back it up. I know what you're thinking, plasma organisms. Is that even possible? Well, that's why we have our expert here. They're going to break down the science for us and help us figure out if we should be taking this game seriously. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are plasmas, and how could they possibly be connected to UAPs?
Good questions. Most of us are familiar with the three basic states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Well, plasma is often called the fourth state. It's basically a gas that's been superheated and energized to the point where the atoms break apart into charged particles, ions and electrons. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so it's like a supercharged gas.
Yeah.
But what makes that so special? What sets plasmas apart from the other states of matter?
One of the most fascinating things about plasmas is that they're incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic fields. They can be shaped and moved and even accelerated by those fields in ways that solids, liquids, and gases just can't. They can form incredibly intricate shapes, move at mind-boggling speeds, and even do things that seem to defy physics, like passing right through solid objects.
Hold on. Pass through solid objects. Now that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are we talking ghost-like apparitions here?
It's not magic, but it's definitely mind-bending. So while plasmas are made up of charged particles, their overall charge can actually be neutral. That means they wouldn't necessarily be repelled by solid matter, in the same way that, say, two magnets with the same poles would be. Think of it like this. If the atoms in a solid object are like a tightly woven fabric, a plasma might be able to slip through the gaps in the weave.
That's incredible. So are we saying there could be a scientific explanation for those UAP reports where objects seem to materialize inside cockpits or even people's homes?
It's definitely a possibility worth exploring. And it gets even more intriguing when you consider the research by Joseph and his team. They claim to have evidence of these plasmas behaving in incredibly complex ways, almost like they have a mind of their own. And they've got hours of NASA footage to back it up.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. I know they analyzed a massive amount of NASA footage. What exactly were they looking for, and what did they find?
They were specifically looking for evidence of plasmoid activity, those living plasma organisms we talked about earlier. And while I'd caution against jumping to any conclusions, some of the behaviors they documented are pretty compelling. For example, they observed plasmoids congregating around thunderstorms.
That makes sense, right? Thunderstorms generate massive amounts of electromagnetic energy. But were these plasmoids just passively hanging out? Or were they doing anything more interesting?
Definitely not just hanging out. They were observed making incredibly rapid maneuvers, sudden turns, even collisions, at speeds that would be impossible for conventional aircraft. They even documented instances of plasmoids splitting and merging, creating new plasmoids in the process.
Okay, now that's starting to sound pretty strange. Are we talking about random movements driven by the electromagnetic chaos of a thunderstorm? Or could these behaviors be something more deliberate?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Could these movements be more than just reactions to electromagnetic forces? Joseph and his team certainly seem to think so.
Well, let's dive into some of their specific observations. I know they highlighted a few examples that really seem to suggest something beyond random movement.
Absolutely. One example that stands out is what they call hunter plasmoids. These plasmoids were observed repeatedly targeting other plasmoids in what appeared to be complex, coordinated patterns. It wasn't just random movement. It seemed almost strategic.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Strategic plasmoids hunting each other in the skies. This is getting good. And I think they had another example that involved some pretty impressive shape-shifting, right? Something about footage from U.S. Customs.
You're right. They cited footage captured by U.S. Customs of a UAP that was constantly changing shape, splitting and reforming. And get this, it even appeared to dip below the ocean's surface.
Okay, that's just wild. I mean, we've all seen those blurry UAP videos.
Yeah.
This sounds like something else entirely. But here's the thing. If these plasmoids are out there, why are we seeing them near thunderstorms and oceans? What's the connection to Earth?
To understand that, we need to take a closer look at Earth's global electric circuit, or GEC. It's a fascinating phenomenon. Our planet has a natural electrical circuit that flows between the ground and the upper atmosphere.
So like a giant planetary scale electrical system? I'm intrigued. How does that tie into plasmoid activity?
Well, thunderstorms act like massive generators in this circuit, pumping positive charges up into the ionosphere, which is the upper layer of our atmosphere. And remember, plasmas are incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic fields, so it's possible that these positively charged areas of the ionosphere are acting like magnets, attracting negatively or neutrally charged plasmas from space.
Ah, so that's why we see so many UAP sightings near thunderstorms. But what about the ocean? How does that fit into the picture?
It turns out that the ocean's surface can also develop a positive charge, especially under turbulent conditions. So just like with thunderstorms, certain areas of the ocean could be attracting plasmas from the upper atmosphere.
So we've got these potentially charged areas in both the atmosphere and the ocean that could be drawing in plasmas from space. Okay, that's starting to make sense. But here's the big question, the one that everyone's probably wondering. Are these plasmoids sentient? Could they actually be intelligent life forms?
That's the most controversial and honestly, the most exciting aspect of this whole theory.
It's one thing to say that plasmas could be responsible for some UAP sightings, but to suggest they might be intelligent, that's next level. What does the research say about that?
Well, Joseph and his team do present some pretty provocative evidence to support their hypothesis, and they raise some fascinating questions about the nature of life and intelligence itself. But to really understand their argument, we need to dive a bit deeper into their observations.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty of this plasma intelligence theory. Okay, so we've got these plasmoids potentially drawn to Earth by our planet's electromagnetic fields. But how do we go from there to saying they might be intelligent? That's a big leap.
It is a big leap, and it's important to be cautious. Attributing complex behaviors solely to electromagnetism is a tricky business. But Joseph and his team argue that the patterns they observed in the NASA footage go beyond simple reactions to electromagnetic forces.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of patterns are we talking about? Give me the specifics.
Well, remember those hunter plasmoids we talked about earlier? The ones that seem to be targeting other plasmoids in those complex coordinated patterns? They point to that as one example of potentially intelligent behavior.
Right. That definitely seemed like more than just random movement. It was giving me serious predator-prey vibes. What else?
They also highlight a case where a plasmoid was observed entering the cockpit of an airplane. They described it as reconnoitering, suggesting that it wasn't just passively drifting along, it was actively investigating its surroundings.
Whoa, a plasmoid checking out the inside of a plane. Okay, now things are getting really interesting. But how do we know it wasn't just drawn in by the plane's electrical systems?
That's a valid point. And it's one of the challenges of interpreting this kind of data. We need to be careful not to jump to conclusions. But the researchers argue that the plasmoid's movements were too specific and deliberate to be explained solely by a simple attraction to electrical signals.
So are they saying we're dealing with a whole new form of life here, like a fourth domain of life, alongside bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes?
That's exactly what they're suggesting. They argue that we need to expand our definition of life to include these plasma-based organisms. And they propose that this fourth domain could encompass a wide range of intelligence levels, from simple, single-celled organisms to something far more complex.
Okay, mind officially blown. But let's be real. Not everyone is going to buy this theory. I'm sure there are plenty of skeptics out there who are rolling their eyes right now.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I'd say that skepticism is a healthy part of the scientific process. It's important to question assumptions and demand evidence, but I'd also encourage them to keep an open mind. The universe is vast and full of mysteries, and we're constantly discovering new things that challenge our understanding of what's possible.
Well said. And to be fair to the researchers, they do acknowledge that not all UAP sightings can be explained by plasmas. There are still plenty of unexplained cases out there, right? What about those?
You're absolutely right. The research paper is very clear that plasmas are not a catch-all explanation for every UAP sighting. There are historical accounts from astronauts, for instance, describing objects they referred to as bogies.
Like Gordon Cooper's famous sighting, right? And wasn't there something strange reported by the Apollo 11 crew as well?
Exactly. There are still plenty of mysteries out there that we haven't been able to explain. And it's possible that there are other, as yet unknown phenomena at play.
So where do we go from here? How do we separate the plasmoid sightings from the other unexplained phenomena? What kind of research do we need to do to really get to the bottom of this?
That's the exciting part. There are so many avenues for further exploration, For starters, we can revisit the existing NASA footage with the advanced image processing and AI algorithms we have today. We might uncover patterns and details that were completely missed before.
Oh, I love that idea. It's like using new technology to enhance an old photograph and reveal hidden details. Yeah. What else?
Another exciting possibility is launching a dedicated satellite, equipped with instruments specifically designed to study plasmas in the upper atmosphere. We could track their movements, analyze their composition, maybe even capture some for closer examination.
Now, that would be a game changer. It'd be like sending a biologist into a whole new ecosystem. But in this case, the ecosystem is the Earth's upper atmosphere. We could observe these plasmoids in their natural habitat and really start to understand how they behave.
Exactly. And we shouldn't forget about the importance of lab-based research. We need to continue studying plasmas in controlled settings, manipulating electromagnetic fields, observing their reactions, pushing the boundaries of what we understand about their potential for complexity, and even, dare I say, sentience.
So it sounds like we need a multi-pronged approach here. Analyze existing data, gather new data from space, and conduct experiments here on Earth. It's a huge undertaking, but the potential rewards are enormous.
Absolutely. If we can confirm the existence of even simple plasma-based life forms, it would revolutionize our understanding of biology, evolution, and our place in the universe. It would raise profound questions about the nature of consciousness and the possibility of other forms of intelligence existing alongside our own.
Well, it's a truly mind-blowing concept. But even if we never find definitive proof of plasma-based life, this research is forcing us to ask some really important questions about what life is, where it can exist, and what it might look like. It's a reminder that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than we can possibly imagine. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? The idea that we might be sharing the universe with life forms so different from anything we've ever imagined. And it all starts with asking questions, being curious, and exploring the unknown. Iceni, thanks again for sending us down this incredible rabbit hole. This research has definitely sparked some mind-blowing conversations, and I have a feeling we'll be thinking about plasmoids and the potential for plasma-based life for a long time to come.
It's been a truly fascinating deep dive. It's amazing how a seemingly simple question, could some UAPs be extraterrestrial life, can lead to such a profound exploration of the nature of life intelligence and the universe itself.
Absolutely. And for all of you listening out there, we hope you enjoyed this journey as much as we did. Remember, you can find the link to the full research article in the show notes, so you can dive even deeper into this incredible topic and form your own conclusions. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your incredible support. Seriously, you guys are the reason we can keep doing these deep dives. Your likes, subscriptions, and shares mean the world to us. They help us grow this channel and reach even more curious minds out there. So if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share with your friends. It really does make a difference. And hey, if you have any thoughts or questions about this research or any other topics you'd like us to explore in future deep dives, leave a comment below. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep exploring, and keep looking up. You never know what wonders are waiting to be discovered out there in the vast expanse of the universe.